Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking time on a Saturday afternoon to join us today at the opening ceremony of Creative Writing Competition, Crafting Digital Interactive Storybook using iPad. The first workshop today will be on Creative Writing 101, writing how to write creatively. Right. Creative Writing Competition, crafting digital interactive storybook jointly organized by Center for Languages and General Study, University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Apple Professional Learning Malaysia, Digital Educational Learning Initiative Malaysia, and MARA. I'm Muhammad Hilmi Cik Ahmad. And I'm Mr. Chan Xiang Jack. We are the English language teacher at Center for Languages and General Studies, University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, and we will be your moderator for today. And for your information, you can also watch this workshop session live, online live. We are streaming at Saplex Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our program today, I would like to call upon Mr. Hafizan bin Muhammad Daid to recite the doa. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Al-Fatihah. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin arrahmanirrahim maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in ihdinas siratal mustaqim siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Ya Allah ya Rahman ya Rahim, hanya padamu sahaja kami panjangkan kesyukuran atas segala rahmat dan berkat-Mu. Bersepeda dengan majlis pada hari ini, pertandingan Creative Writing Competition, Crafting Digital Interactive Storybook using iPad. Kami memohon inayah dan taufik-Mu, kurniakanlah kesejahteraan dan kebahagiaan kepada kami. Bukakanlah hati-hati kami, lapangkan dada kami supaya kami dapat mengisi ilmu dan pengetahuan yang berguna untuk agama, bangsa dan negara. Ya Allah, Ya Fattah, Ya Halim, let our heart be filled with light and insight and understanding and knowledge. Verily, you control everything. We ask you for beneficial knowledge and good deeds and a strong memory and a perfect understanding and a sound intellect by your mercy. Oh, the most merciful of the merciful ones. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Amin, 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 ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Mr. Hafizan Muhammad Dain, for the recitation of the dua. May the opening ceremony and all upcoming workshops go on smoothly. Amin. Now, this is the moment we have been waiting for. The opening ceremony of the Creative Writing Competition, crafting digital interactive storybook using iPad. To officiate the opening ceremony, I would like to invite distinguished Professor Dr. Amin Makhaf, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Students Affairs Alumni, performing the function of Vice Chancellor, University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, to give his speech and officially open the Creative Writing Competition, crafting digital interactive storybook using iPad. Please welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am indeed delighted to be given a chance to say a few words on this momentous event. First of all, I would like to thank and congratulate Center for Languages and General Studies, University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Apple Professional Learning Malaysia, and MARA for their initiatives and hard work to organize this competition despite of the pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been informed that this creative writing, crafting digital interactive storybook using iPad competition is open to 3 categories of students, namely primary, secondary, and tertiary, with the aims to further challenge our students specifically in creative writing, provide a platform to create real impact, inculcate the culture of writing and love through languages, and allow the participants to be innovative, creative, and thinking outside the box. Ladies and gentlemen, a part of the competition, there will be 12 sessions of workshops to serve as a platform for the students to enhance their skills and capabilities in creative writing, learn the technology that can help them to be digitally creative with digital design and illustration, develop animations interactively, composing musics, creating video movie on a single device or with an iPad. Plus, produce various types of digital products and contents. Adik-adik dan hadirin hadirat di luar sana, saya percaya bahawa inisiatif yang dilaksanakan oleh Pusat Bahasa dan Pengajian Umum UPSI, Apple Professional Learning Malaysia dan MARA akan melahirkan generasi Malaysia yang celik digital IT dan juga arif tentang revolusi industri 4.0. Dan ini akan melahirkan masyarakat yang sentiasa bergerak ke hadapan dalam menghadapi dunia digital yang merupakan sebahagian daripada kehidupan hari ini. Sekali lagi saya ingin ucapkan syabas dan tahniah kepada Pusat Bahasa dan Pengajian Umum UPSI, kepada Apple Professional Learning Malaysia, MARA dan seluruh hadirin hadirat, peserta, petugas maupun pengadil dalam pertandingan ini, dan semoga ianya akan menjadi salah satu pertandingan yang menarik dan juga mencokil bakat-bakat di dalam kalangan adik-adik sama ada di sekolah rendah, sekolah menengah maupun di institusi pengajian tinggi. Dengan lafaz yang mulia Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, saya merasmikan pertandingan Crafting Digital Interactive Storybook using iPad, anjuran bersama Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Apple Professional Learning Malaysia dan MARA. Sekian, terima kasih.
Thank you very much, Yang Wahid Dato, for the wonderful speech moments ago. Now, dear participants, please take note that there will be a total of 12 workshops for you to attend. All 12 workshops will be conducted online. There will be a workshop every Saturday and Sunday, starting from today, 30th March 2021, right up to 18th April 2021. So please, save the date. All participants are required to attend at least 8 out of 12 workshops as a requirement to participate in the competition. Certificate of participation will be awarded to those who attend the workshops. The information pertaining to the competition are available in the organizer's website. The link to the website is shared in the participants Telegram group. And as for that, let's look at the website itself. All right. So as you can see here, this is the homepage where everything pertaining to the competition and the important links, such as the Telegram links, and the link to the competition is pasted on the home page. Next, we will have terms and conditions, the rules and regulations for this one. For this competition, it's stated here, we have 2 languages here. We have Malay and English, and you can download the rules and the terms and conditions here by yourself. Moving on to the next one, we have workshop schedule. All right. So in this page particularly, is where all the information pertaining to the workshops are posted here. Okay, as you can see from the date. All right. So if you are having doubts when would be the dates of those workshops, head up to this tab and take a Next, we'll have the recording session. For every workshop, it will be recorded and uploaded here. If, let's say, you miss the workshop, then go ahead to this website, and under this tab, you can see all of the workshop recorded available for you to watch anytime. Next on, we have the attendance form. Now, you have to fill up all the attendance, your attendance in this form for every single workshop that you have attended. So please make sure if you miss out, head on to this website and go to the attendance form to fill up your information. All right. Next on, we'll have time frame. Here is where the important dates for this competition will be stated so that you will never forget the due date anymore. All right. Don't miss the date there. Use this one to mark your calendar and for your perusal. Last one, we have the frequently asked question, FAQ. Now, I'm sure all of you have burning questions to ask about the competition. Worry not, for we have already prepared the FAQs in the website. You can head on down and take a look at the questions posted and the answers to your question. Now that we have seen the website itself, let's move on to the next part where we're going to talk about the theme for this competition. Now, we won't call it writing if there's no themes, right? So there are 3 themes that we have highlighted that you can use for this competition. The first one is unity and well-being. This is the theme where you can talk about a lot of things. For example, we have new normal then we have health, we have solidarity, race and ethnic, peace and harmony, and not to forget human rights. Next thing will be
Culture and heritage. I'm sure all of you, the participants here, are very familiar with our culture and heritage. So there are several things that you can talk about in this theme. For example, clothing, food, traditional games, festivals and celebrations, crafts, language and art, and of course, architecture. Not forget that we have our final theme, which is
science and technology. It is kind of weird if you do not use this theme nowadays, right? There's a lot of things you can talk under this theme. For example, we have information computing technology, industrial revolution, innovation, invention, gadgets and futuristic, and not to forget digital communication. There's a lot of themes for you to choose here, and all depends on your creativity.
yes, choose whichever you're comfortable with.
Now, let's move on to the next part of our session today, and it will be the rules and regulation for the workshop. Let's look at the first one.
All right. So first rules and regulation that you need to know is that this online workshop session will be recorded. So make sure to be at your best behavior because everything will be recorded for everyone to see.
Next, we, as the audience, we really hope that you could mute your microphone, all right? Make it be in the silent mode so you won't interrupt the whole session there. Next one,
We'll have during the session, okay, viewers, yeah, all of you, the participants, the viewers, can of course ask questions if you have any in the chat box. All right.
and not to forget, if by the end of the session, we have question and answer session. So if you have any uncertainty, something that you need clarification on the issue itself, feel free to ask representatives by the end of each session.
Okay, and of course, do not use screen sharing while the speaker is conducting a workshop, and that will disturb the flow of the whole workshop, which we do not want. All right.
By the end of each workshop, there will be attendance links provided for you to register and to make sure that we know you attended the workshop. Okay, guys? Now, without further ado, let us continue with the workshop for the session. All right. We're going to start with the first presenter. The presenter for English workshop, we have Mr. Ramesh Dayanandan and Ms. Marina Muhammad Sani from UPSI. Before we begin, allow us to introduce our presenters. We have the first one, Mr. Ramesh Dayanandan. He's a language teacher at UPSI. He obtained his Bachelor of Education in TESOL from UPSI and Master of Education in TESOL from UTM. He has 6 years of teaching experience and was a teacher at Region International School and Ministry of Education Secondary School before joining UPSI as a language teacher.
Now, for our next presenter, we have Ms. Marina Muhammad Sani. She's a language teacher at UPSI as well. She obtained her diploma in English and Bachelor of Education, TESOL, from UPSI.
Now, without further ado, let's welcome our presenters, Mr. Ramesh and Ms. Marina, for their first workshop, Creative Writing 101,
How to write creatively.
Please welcome.
Please welcome.
Hi and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Creative Writing 101 with me, Marina. I hope everyone is ready to join us as we go step by step on how to write creatively. Now, before we start, it's important that you know the details of our creative writing competition. So let's take a look together, shall we? Now, there are 3 important details to look at. First of all, the theme that you can choose in your creative writing are unity and well-being, science and technology, and culture and heritage. Now, moving on to the categories, there are 3 categories in this competition. We have primary school students, secondary school students, and also higher education students participating. And how about the number of words of your creative writing? Okay, for primary school students, it's 250 to 350 words. Next, for secondary school students, it's 350 to 500 number of words. And lastly, higher education students with 500 to 750 words. So I hope everyone keeps in mind of these three important details when writing your short story. Next, let's take a look at the criteria you will be assessed on. First, you will be assessed on whether your theme is correct. Second, the setting of your short story. Third, how you develop each of your characters. Next is how you include the problem and the solution in your short story. Besides that, does your creative writing include certain parts and engaging dialogues between the characters? Next, can we see a proper organization in your storyline? For the eighth criteria, which is the most important one, is of course your creativity. Next, you will be assessed on the mechanics. And then, which point of view will you decide to use? Apart from that, you will also be assessed on the sensory language and the literary devices. But don't worry, we will cover that together in this workshop. Now, if you have any questions regarding how to write creative writing, you can type in the chat column. Now, I think it's the perfect time for us to start with our creative writing fun. So let's start now. So what is creative writing? Now, creative writing is very different from academic writing. In academic writing, typically leaves the reader with only facts and information. However, in creative writing, you use your senses and your emotions to create a strong visual image for your readers. Next, we will look at the 5 important elements of creative writing. As you can see on the slide, first and foremost, it is important that you create a unique plot. What differentiates creative writing of who a character is and how they slowly change throughout the duration of your story. From the start to the end, readers should be able to understand your main characters deeply. Thirdly, almost every story out there has an underlying theme or message they want to readers to understand. When you have a theme in your story, it can act as a moral value. So you see, the theme is the central idea of the story. Short stories often have just one theme, whereas novels can usually have multiple themes. Next, there are a few points of views you can write your short story in. However, the two that are most common is creative writing, first person and third person. And the last important element of creative writing is including some figurative language. Now, figurative language is phrasing that goes beyond the literal meaning of words to get your message across. Now, let's take a closer look at the element at one time. First, we are going to look at the unique plot. As I mentioned earlier, having a well-organized plot will help your storyline run smoother. Your readers can understand the flow of your story without getting confused by the different incidents that happen. So you can see the importance of having a plot by the image on the slide. The storyline is divided into 3 sections, which are the beginning, middle, and the end. So in the beginning, you will see that happens first in the story through exposition and also conflict. Next, during the middle section is where the story slowly begins to evolve through rising action and the climax. Now, the climax which is also the peak of your short story. In the end, your short story should have a falling action which leads to the resolution. I hope everyone is still on board with me, but not to worry. I have an example for you, the story of Cinderella, and I'm confident that you are familiar with this story. So let's check it out. Okay, first of all, let's take a look at the exposition. So once upon a time, there was a beautiful girl named Cinderella. She lived with her stepmother and her stepsister. They treated Cinderella very badly. They even made her do all the house chores. And then, as you can see in the rising action, what happened
Wait for a while. Ada yang kat somebody said don't see screen share. Let me see this again.
is they were invited for a grand ball in the king's palace, but Cinderella's stepmother would not let her go. Cinderella was made to sew new party gowns for her stepmother and also stepsister. They then went to the ball, leaving Cinderella all alone at home. Cinderella felt very sad and began to cry. Suddenly, a fairy godmother appeared and said, "Don't cry, Cinderella. I will send you to the ball." But Cinderella was sad. She said, I don't have a gown to wear to the ball." The fairy godmother waved her magic wand and changed Cinderella's old clothes into a beautiful new gown. The fairy godmother then touched Cinderella's feet with her magic wand, and ta-da! She had beautiful glass slippers. Cinderella danced with the prince. When it was almost 12 midnight, Cinderella ran back home and accidentally left one of her glass slippers. In the climax, you can see that what happened is the prince had fallen in love with Cinderella and wanted to find out who the beautiful girl was. But he did not even know her name. He found the glass slipper that had come off Cinderella's foot and she ran home. The prince said, I will find her. The lady whose foot fits this slipper will be the one I marry. The next day, the prince and his servants took the glass slipper and went to all the houses in the kingdom. They wanted to find the lady whose feet would fit in the slipper. All the women in the kingdom tried the slipper, but it would not fit any of them. Cinderella's stepsisters also tried on the glass slipper. They tried and squeezed their feet and pushed very hard into the slipper, but the servant was afraid the slipper would break. And then, what happened to the falling action? Cinderella's stepmother would not let her try the slipper on, but the prince saw her and said, let her try the slipper. To everyone's surprise, the slipper fitted perfectly. Lastly, what happened in the resolution? Yes, of course, the prince recognized her from the ball. He married Cinderella and together they lived happily ever after. Okay, good. I think everyone understands how to write the plot. Now moving on to our second important element is the development of characters. Now early on, we did touch a little on the importance of having characters in your creative writing, where they create and push your plot forward. Readers can experience the world that you've created through your fictional characters. Apart from that, I would like to show you the 4 types of characters by using the example from the Cinderella story, which will be easier for you to understand because we have just learned about it just now. Now, first, we have the protagonist, which is usually the main character. So for the Cinderella story, is of course Cinderella herself. She is also the main character. Next, we have the antagonist. Now, the antagonist is the evil character of any story. So you can see on the slide, all 3 ladies, the stepmother and the 2 stepsisters, are considered to be evil towards Cinderella. But luckily, Cinderella has a mentor who looks out for her in times of difficulty. The fairy godmother is someone Cinderella can look up to and ask for any help or wishes for her to come true. And basically, she acts as a mentor to Cinderella. And then lastly, you can also have a sidekick character in your short story. Usually, sidekicks have a very funny and clumsy character that makes the story more alive and entertaining. As for this Cinderella story, the sidekicks are Jack and Goose. They are always in Cinderella's trying their best to give the support and company Cinderella needs when she is lonely. All right, I think that is all on development of characters. Now moving on to the next element, which is the theme. In any work of art, the theme is the underlying message that the writer would like to get across. Maybe it's a theme of bravery, honesty, or underlying love. It's important not to confuse the theme and the main idea. Now, the theme is an underlying message of bravery or hope or love. The main idea, however, is simply what the story is about. In a way, the main idea is a tight summary of the plot. Now, I have 3 questions that will help you to find the theme. So you can ask yourself, what problem is the main character facing? And then you could also ask yourself, what lesson did the main character learn? And you could also ask, what message can you learn from the story? So once you can answer all the 3 questions, you will understand the theme better. Now, great job, everyone. I think it won't be difficult for you to include a suitable theme in your creative writing. Now, let's take a look at the different point of views you can choose from. Point of view is the angle of considering things, which shows us the opinion or feelings of the individuals involved in a situation. In literature, point of view is the mode of narration that an author employs to let the readers hear or see what takes place in a short story. As you can see on the slide, the first person point of view is where the writer uses the word I. And then in second person point of view, the writer usually uses the word you. And for third person point of view, the writer will use the word he or she. Okay, I think that is all from me. Moving on to the next presenter, I will call upon Mr. Ramesh.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Marina, just now for her explanation. So I'm going to pick up on what Ms. Marina said and continue on Creative Writing 101. Okay, let's look at our first slide here. Okay, so before we move into figurative language, I want you to emphasize, and I want to emphasize that whatever I'm going to mention is a form of guideline for you. Okay, it doesn't mean that you need to necessarily include everything into your creative writing piece. Okay, so let's look at figurative language. So there's 5 here. Before I want to go into these 5 elements, these 5 types of figurative language, another word of caution I would like to include here is that when you are writing, try to write as naturally as possible. That meaning what I mean here is actually try not to include the figurative language that we have here unnecessarily or in a way that it makes the writing not natural. Okay, there must be a flow to your writing. Okay, so if the flow helps, if you can actually help the flow by adding this figurative language, then that's fine. Okay, of course, having figurative language will help with your creative writing. It actually will improve it. So let's just look one by one what is actually figurative language. Okay, the first one we have is hyperbole. Okay, the first one here is the example given there is, I am so tired I could sleep for a year. So is it possible for someone to actually sleep for a year? So if you look at the sentence itself, it seems improbable, right? But this is actually, hyperbole is actually an exaggeration of what is actually happening, right? So he's so tired, he sleeps for a year. It shows, it intensifies how tired the character is. So what happens, the character gets more depth. You get to know more about the character. You know that the character is so tired. Maybe he has done a lot of work and thus he is so tired. So you get that idea of, using this hyperbole, right? So let us look at the second example given here. So the second example is his teeth were blinding white. So when you say blinding white, obviously you can't look at the teeth. It is so white, right? We know that this in reality, this is not possible, but the idea, the exaggeration here shows that the teeth is clean. Maybe this might be an advertisement for a toothpaste, right? So it shows that the teeth were, he writes that the teeth were blinding white. It's possible, okay? So that's how hyperbole actually helps your writing. Okay, let's move on. Okay, the second one is metaphor. His heart is a rock. Give an example here. Metaphor is actually a comparison. Okay, so what is being compared here? The heart is compared to a rock. Literally, it would make little sense. But if you look at the underlying meaning, rock here is the property of a rock. It's hard, right? So they are trying to say here that the heart is actually hard like a rock, right? So you're comparing the rock to the heart here. Okay, I think that's clear. Let's move on. Okay, the next one is personification. Personification is actually giving human attributes to non-living thing or maybe animals too. Okay, let's look at the example given there. The flame of the candle danced in the dark. Okay, so we know that flames can't dance. It's not a living thing. Human beings dance. Okay, we can dance, but not a flame. But here, the writer is actually trying to emphasize the movement of the flame is akin to dancing. Okay, it gives more, it makes the writing more livelier, right? So that's how personification works. Okay, now let's look at simile. Simile is in a way similar to metaphor, but you can see they use words like as or like. Okay, so the example there is as sweet as honey. Okay, more commonly used by students. We notice that you will notice that many of you will tend to use as fast as lightning, probably, right? As fast as lightning. That's another example, but I would like to inform the students, the writers, the young creative writers that are listening to this. Try to exercise caution when you're using this. Try not to overuse these figurative languages. Okay, so the problem is when you overuse it, it doesn't look natural. You lose the aspect of getting your readers engaged to it. Okay. Like I said earlier, don't overtly use this figurative language, but if you use it appropriately, it certainly can add depth to your writing. Okay. Okay, let's look at symbolism. Okay, symbolism is actually a quite a wide topic, but here we are looking at colors first. Okay, so the color, let's look at the color black, the black color there. Okay, a black color is associated with evil. Okay, so what symbolism does is it associates one thing to another aspect, right? So in this sense, evil is associated with the color black. Okay, not only in colors. Let me give you an example. Maybe animals. For example, a black cat. A black cat is normally an omen or a symbol of bad luck, right? So then again, it's subject to the culture that you are actually presenting your story to. Okay, so please bear in mind when you're writing, look back at your setting. Okay, before you work on the symbolism. So if you're writing in an Asian context, make sure the symbolism is appropriate to your context. Okay, another example I can give is animal would be an owl, right? An owl is actually a symbol of wisdom. Okay, it shows that yeah, it's wise. You know, we always relate the word wise to an owl. So symbolism can be used as this. Another example I can give is also maybe rose. A rose would be a symbol for love. Okay, so yeah, writers can incorporate symbolism into their creative writing, which will actually help their creative writing. Okay, moving on. Okay, we are done with figurative language. Let's look at how to get your readers engrossed into your reading. So if you look at the slides here, you can see writers should will have the power to entertain, make someone laugh, make someone cry, or make someone think. A simple example that I can give to you is through movies. Okay, when you watch a movie, let's say you come to a sad scene. In the sad scene, you will realize that after watching the sad scene, your tears are rolling down. You are actually crying, or something happened. Maybe your favorite character died in the movie. That shows you're actually engrossed. You're invested in the movie. The same thing if you watch maybe a comedy scene and you end up laughing at the scene. It shows that how much engrossed you are. And this is very important. The quality, for example, in the movie, the quality of the movie will show. Like, for example, you're watching the movie for 30 minutes and after that you can't really focus. That shows that the movie fails to engage you. Okay? The similar thing for writing. We must keep our readers engaged throughout the story. So in order to do this, we can incorporate these methods or these techniques, okay? There's two techniques I would like to tell you. The first one would be sensory imagery, and the second one is show instead of tell. So what is sensory imagery all about? Let's look. Okay, I'm gonna basically try to help you to apply the sensory imagery to your writing piece. Okay, so as you know, the senses are five. We have five senses. First would be sight, then you have touch, hearing, taste, and smell. Okay, so what these five senses does actually, if you experience in real life and in the real world, you experience the world through these five senses. You see things, you touch things, that makes your experience. So we want to use this and bring it into our writing, right? It helps, but I've highlighted the but there. Use them with discretion, okay? Don't overtly use them. Don't put it at every paragraph. No, it doesn't work like that. It needs to be natural, okay? So another one I would like to emphasize, if you look at my second bullet there, instead of sensory phrases like I smelled, I felt, I tasted, I'm not saying these are wrong, but these can be improved. Okay, let's look at the first example in the box there. I smelled the tasty cake and it made my mouth watery. If you look at it, okay, fine, you understand, there's no issue with it, but we can improve it. Let's look at the second one given there. The strong, zesty aroma wafted from the kitchen, creating a sudden hunger in me. So you see here, I removed the word smelled. There's no longer the word smell, but it is still being carried out. You know this person is still somehow smelling, right? How it happens? Because we have these words like aroma, okay, wafted, and you know there is even additional details there like zesty. Maybe probably it's a lemon cake there now. Okay, so incorporating sensory imagery in your creative writing certainly helps, but then again, you will have to improve on how you use the phrases and how you create your sentences. Okay, I hope that's clear. Let's move on. Okay, now look at this picture. Okay, so while I'm talking here in the chat box, you have a chat box down there. Why don't you tell me what you experience when you are at the beach? So using your five senses, okay? So you tell me just short words, short sentences or short phrases, just give me and tell me what you experience at the beach. Okay, so this is some sort of warm up to your writing. So when you have an idea, for example, you're going to write a beach scene, right? And you know that when you're at the beach, you sense these things. Okay, let's move on. Okay, you have two pictures there. Okay, the first picture is under the word tell. Okay, a simple house, and the other picture is under the word show. Okay, so if I ask you to choose which house would you like to have, certainly you would like to have the house under the word show, right? Because of the complexity, the intricacy included in that picture. Okay, if you look at the picture under the word tell, it's very simple. It's a 2D image with a door, with a window, a roof, and also a chimney, right? It's very simple. What I want you to achieve at the end of the day is to able to show your readers instead of just telling your readers. So hopefully by the end of the day, when you write, your writing will look like the house under the word show. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so how to show and not to tell. Okay, like I said before, this would require a lot of practice. Okay, you will need to practice in order for you to able to bring your creative level, creative writing to a better writing sense, right? Okay, let's look at the example given, the first one, and the first bullet there, tell. She was my best friend. I could tell her almost anything. So we understand the story. We understand what's in the story there. Very straightforward. Okay, but instead of just telling your readers that, oh, she's my best friend, I could tell her anything, why don't you show us? You bring us into that experience and let us see for ourselves how close you are. You don't need to explicitly mention that you are close, she's your best friend. Okay, so how is this is done? Look at the second bullet there. I met her at the town square, running in for our usual hug that carried on for far too long. Okay, so you see there, they're running towards each other to hug, and they hug. The hug was quite long. So you know this person is close. Okay, so these two people meeting here, the person A and B, they are actually close for the fact they are actually hugging, right? So that already tells you without mentioning without using the word best friend. Okay, let's continue. As we gushed about our lives with smiles lighting our faces. Okay, you know that there's happiness when they meet and they can talk with each other. Okay, this is important because if your story is just a mere recount of events, it will not be as exciting for readers to go through. Okay, so remember about creating experience for your reader instead of just telling them what actually happened in the story. Okay, let's move on. Okay, another part of how to show and not to tell is by using better verbs. Okay. Verbs play important role in our writing. Okay, let's look at the three sentences that I gave there and see what are the differences. Okay, let's look at the first sentence. The first sentence say she walked into the room, her cape trailing after her. That is the first sentence. I'm going to use that as a baseline. Baseline, that meaning that I will use that to compare between sentence 2 and sentence 3. Okay, so pay attention to the verb walked and trailing, right? So let us look at the second one. She charged into the room, her cape billowing after her. That's the second one. The third one, she strutted into the room, her cape flowing after her. If you compare all these three sentences, you get the general idea. Okay, in the definition wise, the general idea is this person is entering the room and the cape is behind her. That is the idea that you get, all three. But the effect of these sentences are different. Okay, so if you say she walked, her cape trailing after her, that's fine. It doesn't give you more depth to the character. You do not know actually what's happening. Okay, fine, she's walking into the room. But if you look at the second one, she charged into the room. People who charge, you know, someone charging, for example, if you see a bull charging, you know the action involved, right? The energy involved, and there must be something motivating the bull to charge. The same thing with the person here. So she charged into the room. She must be motivated by something in order to charge into the room, right? So you know, not only by just changing that one word, that verb, you change the verb, you can see more depth into the story. You know something is happening there. Okay, let us look at the second part of the sentence. Her cape billowing after her. So this, if you notice, when the verb changes, the second verb, which is the cape, how the cape reacts also changes. So when you charge, the more wind or more air will go through the cape, and thus it will start billowing, right? So yeah, you see the correlation there. Okay, how the first verb change influences the second verb there, right? Okay, let's look at the third one, the final one. She strutted into the room, her cape flowing after her. Strutted here is an action of you walking with pride, right? For example, let us give the story a bit of context. Okay, let's say this person, our character here, she's standing outside the room waiting to receive a prize from the teacher. So teacher announces her name, and she struts into the room. So she strutted into the room, her cape flowing with after her. So this is some sort of victory walk, maybe you can say, right? So without me explaining, without me even giving the context, that there is more underlying events to the story here, just by changing the verb. So remember, verbs are very powerful, and if you know how to use these verbs well, it will certainly add more depth and make your writing better. Okay, let's move on. Okay, this is something that I believe is quite important. When we teach students, when we tell students, okay, you need to show emotions, okay, immediately what students will do, they will think of all the words they know: happy, sad, frustrated, angry. So they take those words and put it into their writing. Okay, that's fine, that's good, but this can be improved. Instead of just using these words, you can actually translate it. Like I said, like you are trying to create an experience for your readers, right? So how do you create this experience? You show them instead of just telling them. Let's look at the second bullet there. I was so excited. Okay, fine. The readers understand what the character is feeling. The character is feeling excited. But if you look at the second one, okay, sweat beading on my forehead as I race to my destination. So you have a mental image now, mental picture now, that this person is running towards the destination and the sweat is beading on. I mean, the sweat is dropping right from his forehead, right? You know how excited a person must be in order for him to actually run towards his destination with all the sweat. So you get the sense. You are actually drawn. The readers are actually drawn into the story. Okay, so that's very important. If you can create this effect on your readers, that will make a good piece of writing. Okay, let's move on. Okay, these are some advice generally from writers. Okay, and I believe that one thing you need to understand that over time, okay, especially if you're a new writer, over time your writing style changes. For example, if you have taken a piece of writing you wrote about 10 years ago and you compare to what you have written today, it will be two different things. Okay, so what I'm trying to point out here is you will develop style over time. But for beginners, I would advise, give some advice, and these 4 advice I think would be very good for beginners to start off. Okay, but it is not necessary that you actually follow rigidly to this advice. Remember, the idea of creative writing is actually the freedom in it. Okay, you are not constrained, you are not bound to anything. That makes creative writing comes to life. That's very important. If you bound yourself, you tell yourself, oh, I have to follow the plot structure. No, you do not need 100% to stick to the plot structure. For example, some short stories you can see, instead of just having one climax, they might have more than one climaxes. So that's very much possible in stories, because writers, as you see, they don't follow the convention. Okay, they want to think out of the box. Probably that's possible. I am not discouraging you to think out of the box, but whatever Miss Marina and also I have presented earlier, these are guidelines for you. in order for you to improve your writing. And eventually, when you have become adept and you have reached certain stages, you will, like I said previously, develop your own style. Okay, let's look at the first advice there. Best writers are voracious readers. This is something that I personally believe. Okay, you must read, read, and read. Okay, because reading gives you experience, reading gives you the vocab that you need, gives you the style of writing, the language you should use. Reading is certainly the way to go. Spend a lot of time reading and read, then you write. Please make sure. I always believe that reading produces writing. That's very important. Okay, so let's look at the second advice there. Writing can be learned but not probably taught. This was actually taken from Stephen King's lecture. I took it from there. He mentioned this because he noted that, okay, it's fine for you to have a tutor or guide or teacher teaching you how to write. That's fine as a guidance. You can, of course, listen to maybe, I don't know, YouTube videos on creative writing, but writing itself comes from you. And how you can learn, how you can improve is through practice. Okay, similar to many other things, writing requires practice and lots of practice. You have to understand that when you write, it's not overnight that you can actually make a successful piece of writing. Okay, it takes years and years. If you see some successful writers, for example, maybe J.K. Rowling with her Harry Potter series, it took her a lot of time. Many publishers rejected her works, and eventually she managed to publish her work. If you remember the story Dracula, okay, now Dracula, I don't think, I'm not sure whether you're aware whether actually Dracula is actually a novel. It was a novel by Bram Stoker, okay, and he actually started becoming successful in writing after the age of 50. If I'm not mistaken, he was working as a civil servant before that, and then only he embarked into writing. So it doesn't mean that, okay, you are, for example, you're 20 years old, oh, I can't learn writing anymore, I can't do creative writing because I have missed it out from my primary school and secondary school. No, it doesn't mean like that. It takes time. You can work it out. Doesn't matter what your age is. Okay, so like I said, writing can be learned, but teaching it is a different factor overall, actually. Okay, so remember, put in effort and you will eventually reach there. Okay, let's look at the third advice given there. Okay, use short sentences. When I say use short sentences, it doesn't mean that you need to stick to simple sentences in terms of sentence structure, right? No, not sticking to simple sentences, but sentences, it can be a complex sentence, but short enough to keep your readers engaged. This is actually advice from Ernest Hemingway. Hemingway noted, because Hemingway was very much involved in journalism before he went into the world of creative writing, right? So in a way, went on to publish novels and everything, right? So he noted that if you keep your sentences short, it keeps the writer engaged. Okay, I would like to take a classic from this writer, this famous writer, where he actually wrote a novel, and the second paragraph from that novel, this is actually Oscar Wilde, from The Picture of Dorian Gray, that's the novel. The second paragraph was actually one sentence. If I'm not mistaken, it's one sentence, and it was 100 over words. So you just imagine reading one sentence with 100 over words, and how he has pauses in between that. He uses punctuation like comma, but there's no full stop. It's very long, and personally, when I read it, I found it to be quite tedious. Okay, okay. Let's move on to the fourth advice. Make your first paragraph as interesting as possible. I believe you would have heard this in your English class or any writing class, that the first paragraph creates the first impression. Okay, if you want your readers to continue into the second paragraph, you certainly want to make sure they are actually engrossed, they are actually involved in your story. So how do you do this? Is most probably you can incorporate maybe hooks into your paragraph. Okay, make it interesting. Put in something that would engage the readers. That's very important. Okay, so I think the 4 advices, I hope you can use them. Okay, and it will help you in terms of writing. Okay, let's move on. Okay, this is my final slide. Okay, let's look. This is actually a writing cycle. Like I previously said, writing is not something that comes up, doesn't happen overnight. It takes many drafts over drafts. Even I personally, when I write a piece today, maybe a page I write today, and the next day I see, oh, this, I can't use this anymore. I need to maybe overhaul the entire thing. Okay, it can happen. So the idea I'm trying to give you here is, you write your first draft. After writing the first draft, you read the first draft. Give some time between the time of writing and reading. Okay, give your time, refresh, go for a stroll, a walk, or maybe the next day you come back to it, and you will realize there are things there for you to improve. So the idea is rewrite, and rewrite again till you get it. Okay, so and how do you evaluate? For example, you look at your work and you see, oh, it looks fine, I think there's nothing wrong with it. Why don't you get feedback? Okay, so feedback, you can give it to your peers, you can give it to your teacher, you can give it to your parents maybe to read, and they can contribute ideas and saying that, oh, maybe this verb is not suitable here, look at it again, you know. So you take a look at it and you say, oh yeah, this verb is not good. That it's part of process of writing. Remember, it's process writing. It will take you few drafts in order for you to come up with a polished, good creative writing overall. So I hope you get the idea of creative writing, and I have explained, Ms. Marina and I actually have explained quite clearly, and I hope this would be a good guideline for you to start off creative writing. Remember, the advice that I always give all my students is read, then write. That's how you work this out. Okay, so I think that's all from me. Thank you very much for listening to me. I hope you'll be able to produce a good piece of writing. Thank you very much for your time. Bye bye.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramesh and Ms. Marina, for the insightful presentation just now. Okay, so tell me, when I was watching the presentation just now, I've seen a lot of fantastic and mind-blowing, replies from the students themselves. True, when I look at the chatbot itself, I was impressed with the response from you guys. Really amazing response and amazing audience we have nowadays. Amazing, wonderful job, well done. And I bet you have a lot of questions to ask later on. So without further ado, let's welcome our presenters, Mr. Ramesh and Ms. Marina, for the Q&A question and answer session. Yeah, please welcome. Please welcome.
Okay, thank you to the wonderful Mr. Hilmi and Mr. Jack. Okay, so we have to read your responses. We find it interesting and actually quite wonderful also, certain responses, and it has certainly engaged us. Okay, let's look at the first response from Mr. Koyum. Okay, so Koyum said is hot, don't really like it. So I can get the feeling that Koyum is actually at the beach. The beach is hot and he's feeling that he's not comfortable there. That's wonderful. Yeah.
And also thank you from Raja Maisha, where she said seawater gets in her eyes. So imagine having seawater in your eyes. How do you feel? Very painful, your eyes turning red, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so let's look at another response. Okay, this is slightly longer. So what this person has done, okay, let me mention his name before that. Okay, his name is Amir Iskandar. So Amir Iskandar, if you could introduce yourself in the chat box, that would be wonderful. So what Amir Iskandar actually did, he actually connected feeling on how he would feel being at the beach to a study. This is very wonderful. So allow me to read a bit. There is a feeling of satisfaction every time you walk on the wet sand. Feel the ocean breeze on your face and the smell of saltiness of the sea. Wonderful. Then what he did actually, I'm skipping a bit. research finds that spending time at the beach reduces stress level and has a profound impact on your brain and mental health. Okay, just a reminder that creative writing doesn't only involve fiction. You can incorporate facts like this and make it more interesting actually. Yeah.
Okay, now let's look at the first question. Okay. Okay, so for the first question, Adam asks, if my writing does not fit the theme, will my entry be accepted? Your entry will be rejected, right, Ramesh?
Yes, so the entry will be rejected. So let's move on to the second question from Hassan, okay? Hassan asks, can I integrate 2 or more themes in my writing? Unfortunately, Hassan, no. There should be only one main theme.
Okay, and then the third question, should all 5 sensory imagery be used in creative writing? Ramesh, what do you think?
You see, the issue here is we encourage you to use sensory imagery, but do not overuse it, and it is not actually compulsory for you to have it. But in the natural flow of writing, if you can incorporate that, certainly it will produce better writing.
Okay, so what about question number 4?
Okay, so question number 4 is from Jamil, I think. Yeah, that's Jamil. Okay, so he asked, does the concept of creative writing involve writing in the form of short stories only, or can it include literary forms such as poem? So unfortunately, we are only accepting short story proofs. Okay, so basically your focus should be short stories. Actually, you can find example of the short stories in the website. Okay, in the organizer's website, there is example for the short stories for the primary category, secondary category, and also the tertiary category. So what about the 5th question, Ms. Marina?
Okay, so for the 5th question, Nina asks, can I adapt from other stories of my writing? And the answer is no, because the writing produced must be original work without any adaptation, yeah?
Okay, let's look at the 6th question.
Okay.
The question goes, is it compulsory for my writing to include both protagonist and antagonist characters? Okay, the answer, straightforward answer is, like I informed in my workshop earlier, that it is not necessary for you to bound yourself to a fit scenario. You can change, you can introduce variety to it. Maybe you can have more than one main character. That's possible also, right? So it depends on the flow of writing. So remember that you will need to adapt to this writing, but try to make sure you have the characters and also other elements that we included earlier.
Oh.
Okay. Sorry for the interruption just now. Okay, Ms. Marina, could you read the questions there?
Okay, from Alisa, she asks, I would like to ask the presenters, how do you overcome writer's block? Of course, you have to read more and practice more.
Okay, so Alicia, I believe that it happens. Writer's block always happens, and sometimes when you're writing, suddenly there you are pausing. The idea doesn't flow. So take a break from it. Like I said earlier, go for a stroll, come back, read other people's work. That might help you. Okay.
Okay, and the last question from Hasman asks, will marks be deducted for exceeding the word limit? No, but the story will be evaluated by the word limit, is it? Yeah, the word limit.
Yeah, it'll be evaluated by the word limit stipulated. So try not to go too far from your word limit. Okay. Okay, let's look at the next question from Mr. Faris Adil. Okay, he's asking, can we interpret imaginary culture heritage such as non-existing tribes and such? Okay, this is a very good question, and this is actually practiced by many writers. We can say J.K. Rowling, R.R. Tolkien, and many other writers, where they actually create communities, they create cultures which are not existing. Have you seen Harry Potter in real life? No. Have you seen Hogwarts in real life? No, but it is created. And have you seen how engaging the story can be? So, Mr. Faris, if you can do this, this will be certainly wonderful.
Okay, and then Lily asks, is grammar so important in the short story?
Yes, it is certainly important.
But we are more focusing on your creativity.
Yes.
The way you express your ideas, okay?
Okay, so grammar, yes, it is important, and at the same time, remember creativity is what we are looking for. But of course, you cannot have languages. Please try to abstain yourself from using short form, text form messages unless it's really necessary. Maybe you can include them in your dialogues and so on. Okay, yes, Ms.
Okay,
Marina.
then must we maintain only one point of view throughout the whole story?
Being honest is not necessary for you to maintain one point of view. You can switch from the first person point of view to a third person point of view, depending on your story. Like I said before, the idea of creative writing is not to bound you to one specific idea or try to control you. Then, thus, we are reducing the creativity. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Yes, Ms. Marina.
I think that is all.
Okay.
Questions?
Okay. Yeah, that's all. Okay. The last question.
Oh, last question. Okay.
Okay.
So, do you really need to use iPad? Okay. And can we enter the competition even if only one member in our team have iPad, Ramesh?
Oh, okay. So the idea is you need iPad. Okay. You just need one for the entire team. So there are three of you, right? So one person who has the iPad, that's fine. It should be fine for you to actually join the competition. Yeah. So it shouldn't be a problem. So I think that's all. I don't see any more questions from the audiences. Thank you very much for your participation. Yes, Victorina.
Okay, I think we will pass back to the moderator.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, take it away.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for Mr. Ramesh and Ms. Marina for an awesome sharing session just now. I really hope that every question may answered. For those questions that we might have missed, don't worry. We can you can join another workshop later on and further ask the questions. Okay, we have a little bit of time constraint right now. Okay. So before we end this session, all right, dear participants, if you can see here, there's the attendance form, there's the QR code as well. So if you could, please take out your phone, all right, and scan the QR code to, get your attendance for today's workshop, all right? So I'll give you a few minutes to do so. Don't worry, don't rush, take your time, take it slow, all right? Please, take your attendance as required because remember, you need to attend to at least 8 workshops out of 12. So if you miss out and your attendance is not recorded, there will be problem. All right? Okay, the attendance from the link has been posted in the chat box. So please click the attendance link, all right, if you do not have your phone with you right now. For those who have phone that can read QR code, you can just simply scan through the QR code and take your attendance there. All right, so I guess that's it for today. Thank you very much, guys, for an awesome participation from you guys from the really awesome session that we have today. Now, before we end today's session, I would like to bring your attention to tomorrow's workshop. Tomorrow, we're going to have a Bahasa Melayu session. The topic of the workshop will be about Bengkel Penulisan Kreatif Jejak Penulis Muda. So for those who ask, can we write in BM? Tomorrow, let's see what you can do with this competition. Yeah. Tomorrow, we'll see you by using the same link, 2:30 tomorrow. Please save the date, all right? You do not want to miss the workshop for tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, before we call it a day, let's take group photos together for us to commemorate this moment. For that, I wish everyone to please turn your video on, okay? Make yourself look good, right? This is the once in lifetime moment that All right, hey, come on, puff up your cheeks, make sure you are wearing proper, yeah, wear properly and whatnot. So don't be shy, yeah. This is your time to take good photos, yeah.
Okay, nice.
So Naza, that's all. All right, thank you very much, guys, for being a wonderful audience today, right? So we have come to the end of our workshop, and then we would like to take this opportunity to thank our panel of presenters, Mr. Ramesh and Miss Marina, for an invaluable information they shared with us. All right. I would like to also thank our awesome participants, everyone, yeah, who joined today's workshop. Yep. So as usual, see you tomorrow in workshop 2, which will start at 2:30 p.m. Stay at home, stay safe, and stay awesome. Assalamualaikum, and have a pleasant evening.